The Legend of Lotus, a tale of innovation and racing. It was an ordinary garage in London, but what emerged from it was far from ordinary. Young Colin Chapman, a newly graduated structural engineer from University College London, tinkered around in his soon-to-be wife's parents' garage with a simple Austin 7. As the wheels of his modified car spun, he envisioned something revolutionary, a car that embodied the principle of simplify, then add lightness. In 1952, Chapman and his friend Colin launched Lotus, a modest startup to bring Chapman's vision to life. The garage was small, the resources scarce, but the dreams were as big as they could get. The early cars, like the Lotus Mark I, were little more than modified Ford saloons, yet they displayed something special, a relentless pursuit of speed through simplicity. Chapman, having a background in engineering, focused on engine power, agility, and aerodynamics. With limited resources, he even resorted to using salvaged parts. But every Lotus car that left that humble garage was a work of art in motion. A simple, affordable sports car. That was the aim when Lotus introduced the 7 in 1957. What emerged was a machine that cut through the wind like an arrow, offering unfiltered driving pleasure. With the 7, Lotus seemed to unlock the secret language of the road. The model became the symbolic realization of Chapman's vision, both in terms of engineering and the sheer joy of driving. But Lotus wasn't content with conquering the road. They aimed for the sky, or at least the pinnacle of motorsport, Formula One. Amidst the roaring engines and the intoxicating scent of burnt rubber, 1958 saw the spirited Team Lotus mark its territory at the Monaco Grand Prix. The Type 16 was an evolution of Lotus's Formula 2 car, the Type 12, but it had several significant changes. It had a sleeker, lower profile, streamlined body for improved aerodynamics, and something that was ahead of its time, a fully independent suspension system. While the Lotus Type 16 showcased Chapman's ever-evolving design philosophy, its journey on the racetrack wasn't entirely smooth. The car was faster than its predecessor, but it had reliability issues, which often hindered its full potential on the racetrack. Despite the hands of talented drivers like Graham Hill and Innes Ireland guiding it, the Type 16 faced frequent mechanical failures. Although the Lotus Type 16 didn't clinch the podium or dominate racetracks, it played a pivotal role in Lotus's journey. In many ways, the Type 16 encapsulates the Lotus spirit. It was an ambitious leap towards future innovations, a stepping stone in the evolutionary path of Lotus's racing journey. However, Lotus was about to change the game with their new car, the Lotus 25. It was a groundbreaking Formula One car introduced by Team Lotus in 1962. Designed by the visionary Colin Chapman, the Lotus 25's standout feature was its innovative monocoque chassis, a departure from the traditional space frame design. This monocoque structure provided superior rigidity while being lighter, ultimately giving the car a significant edge in terms of speed and handling. On the track, the Lotus 25 proved its ability quickly. With the legendary Jim Clark at the wheel, it showcased both speed and agility. The synergy between Clark and the Lotus 25 was electrifying. In 1963, Clark drove the car to 7 wins in 10 races, securing his first World Drivers' Championship and granting Lotus its maiden Constructors' Championship. Throughout its racing lifespan from 1962 to 1965, the Lotus 25 participated in 49 World Championship Grand Prix, securing 14 wins. The Lotus 25's impact on motorsport is profound. It set a new standard for Formula One car design, with the monocoque chassis becoming the industry norm in subsequent years. The success of the Lotus 25 solidified Lotus's reputation as an innovative and dominant force in Formula One. The combination of Chapman's forward-thinking design and Clark's unparalleled driving skill made the Lotus 25 a symbol of a golden era in Formula One racing. Its legacy is not just in the championships it won, but in how it changed the trajectory of Formula One car design forever. In Formula One history, few cars have left an indelible mark quite like the Lotus 49. When it burst onto the scene in 1967, the racing world paused and took notice. A creation born from the genius of Colin Chapman and Maurice Philippe, the Lotus 49 was more than just another racing car. It represented a seismic shift in car design and engineering. Central to the 49's identity was its beating heart, the Ford Cosworth DFV double four-valve engine. This was not just an engine, but a revolution in itself. Funded by Ford and meticulously crafted, the V8 powerhouse was to become the gold standard, renowned for its power, reliability, and affordability. So pivotal was this engine that it would propel drivers to 12 championships, solidifying its status as F1's most successful engine. But it wasn't just about what was under the hood. The Lotus 49's design saw the engine play an unprecedented structural role, doubling as a load-bearing element of the car, a concept ahead of its time. On the track, the Lotus 49 was poetry in motion. From its debut, it signaled its intentions with the legendary Jim Clark, seizing victory at the 1967 Dutch Grand Prix. Icons of the sport like Graham Hill and the fearless Jochen Rindt, who tragically secured a posthumous championship, drove this engineering marvel to accolades and admiration, earning Lotus 2 Constructors' Championships in the process. Beyond its accolades and race wins, the Lotus 49's influence echoed through the corridors of time. It underscored Lotus's status as a trailblazer, amplifying the capabilities of the Cosworth DFV engine and redefining the symbiotic relationship between a car's design and its engine. In its livery, design, and legacy, the Lotus 49 stands as a monument to a transformative chapter in motorsport, where innovation met success on the grandest stage. In the pantheon of Formula One greats, the Lotus 72 holds a place of reverence. When it thundered onto tracks in 1970, it was instantly recognizable, not just for its performance, but for its audacious design. Masterminded by the visionary duo of Maurice Philippe and Colin Chapman, the Lotus 72 discarded convention for innovation. Its unmistakable wedge shape wasn't just for visual appeal, it was a masterstroke in aerodynamics. Side-mounted radiators and inboard brakes weren't mere additions. They were groundbreaking changes, enhancing weight distribution and reducing unsprung weight, making the car a force on corners. Yet, the 72 wasn't just about how it looked or the technology it packed. It was about dominance. Over its illustrious career spanning half a decade, this aerodynamic prodigy clinched 20 Grand Prix victories. The Lotus 72's story of dominance found another chapter with Emerson Fittipaldi, who raced to World Championship glory in 1972. While its accolades are storied, what's more remarkable about the 72 is its evolution. With versions like the 72C, 72D, and 72E, Lotus showcased an unwavering commitment to refinement, adapting to regulations and ever-shifting performance and safety paradigms. Today, as racing aficionados reminisce about F1's golden eras, the Lotus 72 stands tall, not just as a car that won races, but as a beacon of innovation. Its legacy isn't just in the trophies it clinched, but in how it reshaped the very fabric of motorsport, championing aerodynamics in the unyielding pursuit of speed. The Lotus 72 is more than an iconic racer. It's a testament to what's possible when vision meets engineering genius. 1978 was another pivotal year for the Formula One team. It marked the debut of a car that didn't just race. It clung to the track as if by magic. This was the Lotus 79, a technological marvel and the brainchild of Colin Chapman, aided by the genius of Peter Wright, Jeff Aldridge, and Martin Ogilvy. The Lotus 79 wasn't just an evolution, it was a revolution. Taking inspiration from the aerodynamics of its predecessor, the Lotus 72, the 79 pushed the envelope in ground effect technology. With meticulously designed Venturi tunnels and nimble side skirts, the car produced an astounding low-pressure zone underneath. This wasn't just about downforce, it was about sucking the car to the tarmac, granting it unprecedented cornering speeds. In a sense, the Lotus 79 danced on tracks, its grip a sight to behold. The racing world took notice. With legends like Mario Andretti and Ronnie Peterson behind the wheel, the Lotus 79 wasn't just a contender, it was the class of the field. Andretti's mastery led him to clinch the World Drivers' Championship, and the Constructors' Crown followed, underscoring the 79's dominance. But the legacy of the Lotus 79 goes beyond a single season of racing glory. Its brilliance set the stage for the future. Even as ground effect technology evolved, the 79 was revered as the pioneer, the car that changed the rules of the game. Today, as tales of F1's golden age are retold, the story of the Lotus 79 stands tall, a symbol of innovation, a testament to aerodynamic brilliance, and a reminder of a time when Lotus reshaped motorsport's very fabric. In the ever-evolving world of Formula One, 1981 stood out as a year of audacity and controversy, all thanks to the Lotus 88. This wasn't just a car, it was a statement, a manifestation of Colin Chapman's undying thirst for innovation and boundary pushing. At first glance, the Lotus 88 was different. Chapman had birthed an avant-garde twin chassis design. The genius lay in its intricacy, a primary chassis housing the monocoque engine and a secondary one enveloping the bodywork, radiators, and side pods. This duality aimed to maximize the blessings of ground effect aerodynamics, a concept allowing the car to harness downforce from the outer chassis while maintaining ride quality through the inner one. But as it often happens with radical innovation, resistance ensued. Before the Lotus 88 could prove its ability on the track, it found itself ensnared in regulatory battles. The FIA, the custodians of Formula One's rulebook, labeled the car's groundbreaking design illegal, arguing it flouted the principle that all car parts must be suspended wholly by their springs. The dual chassis, in their view, breached this. Lotus, undeterred, embarked on a campaign to redesign and reintroduce their brainchild, but every iteration was met with rejection, and the Lotus 88, sadly, never graced the racetrack in its envisioned form. This left the season awash with debates as Lotus locked horns with the FIA in a tussle between innovation and regulation. The Lotus 88 won't be remembered for race victories or podium finishes. Instead, it stands as a beacon of relentless innovation and the spirit of challenging conventions. It serves as a reminder that in the quest for perfection, sometimes the journey and the audacity to dream big are just as meaningful as the destination. In the grand theatre of Formula One, where speed and glory intertwine, Lotus didn't just race, they orchestrated a symphony of innovation. Each car was more than a machine, it was a vision, a dream of what the future could be. Yet, the story of Lotus transcends the roar of their most triumphant engines. It's a saga of audacity, of a relentless passion to tear down the very boundaries of possibility and redefine the horizons of a sport. While the F1 history shimmers with their iconic cars, Lotus's true legacy is their indomitable spirit, a burning desire that forever altered the course of motorsport's evolution.
In pit number 1, Colin Chapman, his wife Hazel, and the Lotus team were anxiously on the lookout for signs of trouble.
We've had a good deal of trouble with cars braking this year. Breakages of drive shafts, breakages of suspension and so on. The things on the chassis braking. Aren't the cars really now too light to cope with the power and the speed that they've got?
No, most of the trouble we've had this year has arisen from needing to change our drive shafts, the universal joints and the drive shafts on the transmission, and we've had a great deal of difficulty getting adequate ones made in the time because it's a very complicated process. Apart from these drive shaft failures, I don't think we've had any more trouble than anyone else. We're happy now we've got the new design of shaft and we haven't had any trouble since.
You say no more trouble than anybody else, but it's a pretty familiar sight on Grand Prix circuits to see suspension breaking and wheels coming off and other dramatic things happening. Isn't there a case for making the minimum weight heavier so that the cars are more solid?
None whatsoever, because the suspension, however heavy a car is, the suspension has always got to be the lightest part of it, because this is what gives a car its road holding.
It's been a pretty expensive season in drivers, and it's hit Lotus particularly hard. Do you think that anything could be done quickly to make racing less dangerous?
There's always an element of risk in racing, and this is something that we all have to accept. We do our very best to make sure that this is minimised, but I'm afraid that in a sport as competitive as motor racing, there will always be drivers taking cars to the very limit, and of course there are accidents.
One of the most interesting technical developments this year has been the widespread use of aerofoils on the cars to help to increase the adhesion. Has this, in fact, delayed the development of four-wheel drive racing cars?
I think the two are entirely separated subjects. I don't see how you can say that you have aerofoils or you have four-wheel drive. I can't see what's wrong with having aerofoils and four-wheel drive if you wish to. But I do feel that we're now starting to pay a lot more attention to the aerodynamics of racing cars, not so much from the point of view of considering the minimum drag, as we're now trying to consider minimum lift or even negative lift in order to obtain better road adhesion. And I'm quite sure, absolutely certain in fact, that the work we're doing now on minimum lift will read off into production cars in the future, making production cars safer on the road.